Watch how fast your problems go away if you help somebody else with theirs. And really serve, not to be liked, not to be loved, just give no matter what it is. And sharpening that skill for me has allowed me to become more intuitive to what's happening out there. Messages just come to me automatically. Hey, go this way, do that. Hey, how about this? This person pops in my head. When I'm in a serving state or a flow state, when I'm constantly looking for ways to just say, who can I impact today? How can I serve today? And that's a simple thing. I actually asked that question today. That's after my 5-minute breath work that I always do. I always ask that question. And sometimes it's a person that pops up.
You are listening to Mastering the Inner Game podcast with your host, Jarek Tadla.
Welcome to Jarek Tadla podcast, Inner Game podcast. Today we have my good friend, Daniel Beres, my partner actually, first partner after 30 years in business. And we're gonna discuss some issues. It's funny, today in the kitchen, we literally a few minutes ago, we just discussed the white elephant. We're already running through some issue in the partnership. But that's the podcast not going to be about the white elephant in the room. We're not going to discuss that.
It's necessary. It's necessary. Good communication, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, get out in front of it.
Sometimes we got to go through the pain. It's funny that, I think it was a week ago, you told me the bad news and I almost got so upset. I was like, Daniel, I'm going to hang up the phone because I'm going to get all emotions unnecessary on you that is not even up to you. I remember I was sitting in the nail salon and there was a bad news and I'm like, oh, and I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. Not today.
Come a long ways with that.
Yeah, not today, motherfucker, not today. I was like, nope, Daniel, I gotta go. It's like the devil came in and started nope, we're not gonna accomplish anything this way.
The short drift.
Yeah, the short drift. Let's go through our journey.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Looking forward to going deep here.
It's been a while. We've been trying to do the podcast it's been 6 months, a year? It's been a year. There was always something.
Yeah.
So why are you running away?
Because I'm waiting to get some really great content to bring together for you.
Good. Where do we start? I'm scared.
Wow. Start from the pain, man. Fuck it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. No, I think our history really began when shit hit the fan. And it's in that moment you were on the edge, man. Literally.
I remember this. I remember being on the phone. It was right after divorce. I moved out of my house. And I remember calling you and you said, I'm coming over. And I'm like, what the fuck? What do you mean coming over? I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to come over. I'm like, no, you're not. It's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm already drinking. And you go, okay, I'm coming over. And then an hour and a half later, you stay for a while in my house.
Yeah.
You were my angel. At that time, you were my angel. And I really appreciate that. That's why we're sitting here now. So
Yeah.
It's been a long journey since that day. I didn't realize we're gonna get that close.
I didn't either. I just remember in that moment, it felt like I had a date sitting there. I don't know if I told you.
No.
Part. I had a date sitting there. We were planning to go out. We had a weekend planned. And I get off the phone with you and I'm like, I got to cancel this. I'm sorry. I need to go upstairs and meditate on this real quick. I'll come right back. So I went up, meditated on it, packed my bags and said, I'm coming over.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? I was like, I got to do this. He's just, I don't know why, but I got to go.
You were my angel at that time. You have already experienced going through divorce, all the stages I'm going to go through. And I didn't know it's an unwritten code, ethical code for guys that if you've been through divorce, you work somebody else, you help somebody else. And I just want to let you know, you did a good job.
Thank you, bro.
I'm here. I'm here. Not suicidal anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy what the mind does, man.
Yeah.
Once we go down that path of just things are so fucking painful that the mind says, exit, get rid of it, solve the problem by fucking burning shit to the ground, or the worst case scenario, suicide. At the end of the day, would we actually do it? Most people do it. No. but that's where the mind goes.
Yeah, but Daniel,
And
like you knew me at that time, and I usually succeed in everything I do.
Yeah.
And that was the scary part.
Yeah.
That if I continue on the journey, I'm gonna do it. You know what I mean? That was the biggest. The second I was like everything going in my mind, I already have a plans on how to do it and how and everything else. That I was scared that shit, everything I do, I say I do, and then I was embarrassed and scared of my own thoughts, and that's when I share it. I didn't even we didn't, on the phone. We didn't even get that deep. I just told you what happened, and you went through it 2 years before.
Yeah.
You just showed up, and now 40 minutes later.
Yeah. I felt it. I was there. I had the same thoughts. It's crazy how the mind just takes over in that way. And I think one of my natural abilities over the years through all the coaching and the medicine path and psychedelic guides I've helped with, me as a guide, not spiritual guides.
Yes, I understand.
At the end of the day, I feel like meeting somebody at their pain, that's where it needs to start. And thankfully, I've had people that have helped me in that journey as well. So I remember when I got there, you were a fucking mess. To be honest, just be real. And
I was a mess. I'm not gonna hide. I was a mess. I remember that.
this isn't me. This isn't me. Hey, look, this is where we are.
Yeah.
Let's just fucking get through it. Okay, but I'm gonna drink. I'm gonna get fucked up. I'm like, and then I'm gonna cry. I'm like, we fucking drank, we cried.
Yes.
And I remember the conversation I had with you about ayahuasca, and I said, listen, man, there's not many shortcuts in life.
Yeah, I still don't. And I don't. And you told me, Jarek, I know you don't believe in shortcuts. That is a shortcut, but I'm telling you, when you said it at that time. Like I was like, to me, it was just anything. It just take this pain away. Like I don't want to feel, I don't want to have those thoughts. I don't want to be that way. This is not me. Mm-hmm. And it's like you knew it. It's like what I needed. I remember what do you want to do? I don't know. I want to drink. Okay. What do you want to do now? I want to have another beer. I remember the next morning we woke up and you asked me, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to have a beer. And I remember me and you, we opened the beer. It was like early in the morning. And you opened the beer and you go, fuck, Jarek, motherfucker, I did not have a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning ever. I'm like, well, that's what we're doing. And it's like, you were there. You were completely present, and you were just there. It's just like the way I felt like you were there to serve and not a brother that is going through the journey that you went through. You have that experience and you know how to deal with that. And then a few days later, you hit me with the ayahuasca. And it's funny, I had no idea what it is, but it's a shortcut.
First you said, and then I'm like, listen, you got to promise me this. Like you got to promise. You're like, okay, whatever works. Will it work? I'll take fucking anything. Right
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, you're going to show up for this.
Yeah.
Because there was a moment where you were like, I don't know, maybe, and you made that promise, and I think it was like a week later.
A week later, yeah. Because remember, we talked, you told me that in order I have to prepare myself. Mm-hmm. I got to eat clean. I cannot drink. I cannot do anything. So I have to completely prepare myself for all this stuff and in order for the medicine to work. But that was a very good connections. And then at that time, Daniel, I had no idea. Like, I was not aware of it. I was like, it's funny, when I was sharing the experience that I'm going to ayahuasca, that I'm going to the ceremony, and everybody's like, you know what you're doing? And I'm like, no. It's like, well, you're going to read it about it or something. I'm like, no, I just trust Daniel. I'm going to do whatever he's going to do. It's going to help. And it's funny, looking back right now, this was the biggest shortcut actually in my life. That was the first time I woke up just spiritually and having any awareness of all my feelings, emotions, and everything else. I was going, and probably I would never experience that if I wasn't going through the pain. Mm-hmm. So thank you for that.
Yeah. So it was a message that really just came through me. As much as I could take the credit for it all, I was just like, hey, we got to go. We got to do this.
How did you... Go ahead.
I remember just being there in that moment. I remember right before the ceremony, you said something to the shaman, and you're like, my mind just can't fucking stop. I can't get this out of my mind. My mind is wrong. It like just started blowing up all the things just that were wrong. And shortly after, took some more medicine, and then boom, you went into that deep, necessary death.
Necessary death. Quite a few of them. Quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Walk me through your journey, Daniel. Like, how did you start it? How your process and everything else? And you did not. It's in your DNA helping others, and everything you do is just to give yourself and serve. And where did this come from? Like the
origin of my...
Tell the audience, tell me. I know your story very well. We connected on different level right now, so we know each other more than I think than anybody else. So
I guess the origin of my intention to serve others, I think it's always been in me naturally. I can't think of any specific moment. My mother was a very kind soul, and she was always serving and helping others, and sometimes too much, right, to the detriment of her health and wellness. And I learned a lot from that. I went through phases where it was almost too much, right, on the scale of helping too much, right, to be accepted, to be liked, to be loved, to be all these things. And I found myself asking, okay, where did that come from? Is my need to want to serve come from this missing void that
But the yes man, this comes from the wound, from trauma? Or...
I think it's related to the trauma, but some
people don't like the word trauma. Some people like the wound. Some people like the trauma.
Okay,
you can use whatever word you want to use. It's up to you. But like I know, like we know what is the coming from. But you just bring the awareness to all the trauma, the childhood trauma, and the generational curse and all this stuff.
Yeah,
we're gonna go deep here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
I think for me, I definitely had some abandonment issues, mostly from my dad, which is pretty deep in there. I've healed a lot of it, but I think when I think back on this idea of where that wound came from for me, wanting to always be perfect, always win. I went through a stage where when you hit this wall where you feel like you're not winning, for me, when I felt like I was not winning. My whole life I realized, my identity is related to this idea of winning in sports. I was an athlete. If I wasn't the fucking best, I wasn't happy with myself. If I wasn't doing great in school, I wasn't happy with it. If I wasn't serving and helping others consistently. So
that's how we connected when we were broken. When I was broken, that's when you start telling me your story. I thought you are fucking with me. What are you? That's me. What are you talking about? Are you like God? Like you sent somebody who is telling me this is my story. Like when you talk, you are telling my story. And I told you, like, Daniel, come on, you're telling my story. And then you were validating everything with your own experience, your own stories.
Yeah.
And it was exactly, I'm sorry I interrupt, go ahead. But
yeah, we definitely resonated on that. I think we all have child wounds, right? We have these moments, these traumas, whatever you want to call them. And a lot of people think, oh, they're bad, they're poor, they're terrible, they're dark, they're whatever. Yes, we have shadows, and it's necessary for us to face them. But the beautiful part about all of these wounds is they become a gift in life. And I feel like some of these wounds related to this wanting to be a pleaser, wanting to always feel like if I'm not at my best, then I'm losing, or I'm not accepted, I'm not loved, or I'm not heard, I'm not seen. A lot of that, I feel like, yes, some of it's conditional, but I do feel like some of it's hereditary from my ancestors. Some of that was deep in me prior to even having some of these conditions that I can even recall.
Like I could not join the conversation a few years ago with you because I was like all delusional. What are you talking about? This was like made up shit.
Well,
until it happened. Yeah, it happened to me. Because when I was going through the process, like I did not carry this much pain in me. Is this like a generational curse, or like I didn't realize how much pain I carry? Like my life was never that bad that I could carry all this pain, but it was carried from my generation, from my ancestors. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's why I like when you're saying that, I exactly connected on this level.
Yeah, it's deep. When we try to understand why or how to fix it. When sometimes making it wrong is the worst thing that I did for myself. Like, I am, in a sense, I would have never admitted this a long time ago, but I've always had somewhat of an empathic piece of me where I'm very compassionate. I can sense, I pick up on energies. I can really absorb those energies if I'm not careful, if I'm not protecting my energy. And I used to think, okay, I don't want to be compassionate. I don't want to cry. I don't want to have these emotions. I don't want to have all this. And it's not just like compassion of sadness. Like I'd be fucking angry. I would have all these different emotions going up and down. And some of it was, maybe it was what I was absorbing, and some of it was that's just conditionally, ancestrally how I'm built. And I think once I got to a point where I said, okay, I'm gonna use this. I'm gonna find a way to use this as my superpower. I mean, the truth is, what most people think is wrong with them is actually your superpower. And that is a very important statement, to look and dig closer into that. Because when you're able to, and I'm not just talking about spinning something, making it positive, or making something light that's a little dark. I'm like truly taking that and using it. And I think a lot of anger and many other emotions are really just, in a sense, it's unintegrated power. And that is our unintegrated power, right? So if we have anger that comes up, like you the other day, were you angry at me? No, I know you weren't angry. It's just whatever was going on with you, right? Under the surface, which in most cases, it wasn't integrated somehow, it wasn't expressed, it wasn't going on. Like somehow that was boiling in you. So we all have the shit that boils up. And we're like, where's this coming from? And they think, oh, it's that thing. And then you're battling with these.
But then if we don't deal with that, we become victim of the circumstances. And then we think we validate our behaviors. And we can completely reprogram this we are like a computer software, which I wasn't aware of. Is when I went through my journey and with healing and everything else, that's what I just realized. Like, I have to throw away everything I know. Just take, like, really, I have this computer that is 46 years old. At that time I was 46, 47, right? It was 5 years ago. It's just take that and just keep the box and just dig and take everything out. And I remember we were like, I was like crying and screaming. It's, Daniel, man, don't do that. And you were like, no, that's fine. Just scream, yell, cry. Remember we were like doing the ritual in the other house on the island? And I was like laying down and I was like, and you were like, just let it all out, let it all out. It's like take all the trash out, feel the pain. And you were saying the same words, like use the pain as a fuel. I'm like, fuck you, asshole. It's like I have so much freaking pain in me, like I don't want it, but they served me. And a lot of people, like you said, like a lot of people run away from it.
Yeah, it's scary when you have all those crazy emotions going on, and that's really emotional intelligence, being able to navigate through that and also at the same time use it for power. And I think when I look at, which I love that analogy, by the way, as a software, because it's like we need to do an update on the software, get rid of the other junk, right? It's unnecessary. Just clear the cache, clear all the shit in there.
Just going back to I wanted to, even the phone call or even conversation in the kitchen we have before we walked in to do the podcast. It's just, hey, it is what it is. It has to be addressed, but then it's, hey, reset. And that's what we do with our phones. But yet we forget to do it with ourselves. And our human mind, it's a computer. Yeah. That's why we designed those computers. And we got to be able to reset it. And be able, but in order to reset it, you got to be aware of it. When is the time to reset it? I'm going the wrong thing. Oh, there's some kind of viruses. So our reactions is the viruses that are interact. And it's, hey, it's time to take this stuff out. And the more emotional fitness you have, intelligence, you need fitness for that, the more you're aware of it and you can reset deeper and more often. And that's actually that's what we connect on a different level, because you were teaching me, because I was like a little kid. I didn't know how to deal with all this stuff with the emotions. You know what I mean?
Just been stuffing them in for a long time.
Yeah. And you give me permission. You give me permission to just release the shit out. You know what I mean? Where did you get all this stuff from? This is not something you are born with, right? You learned this through.
Yeah, the idea of truly expressing and getting all that shit out. I would say I went through some challenges with my oldest daughter's mom, and I was in and out of court with her for 7-8 years. And I didn't have a choice but to show up and figure out, how am I going to manage this fucking chaos? And that was the beginning where I started digging into the Tony Robbins and just really learning how to handle my own emotions and how not to flip out and how not to take it out on people at the same time. But when I went through my divorce a couple years prior to our experience, I went to do ayahuasca myself, and that was in the onset of divorce. And that's when I truly learned how to express.
Thank you.
And truly,
I'm glad.
And let me tell you, it was the only way is through. It really is. And I going into that, I thought to myself, okay, I've got a good bit of tools. Like, I've mastered a lot of things. Man, I didn't know shit. Like, I went in a very sort of vulnerable, open, just show me who I've become. And I really came out of it with a healed heart and a lot of pain, guilt, shame, who I was, who I thought I was supposed to be versus not, like all that. I gave myself permission to just truly feel all of it. I remember the first night I did ceremony, it was so fucking painful. It was just like all the shit from my dad, pain from my brother, like pain from my mom, like all of it. And I remember coming out, it was like, fuck, this shit I thought this was supposed to be good for me. I thought this was I thought this was going to be like therapeutic in a way. I'm like, this is fucking terrible. I want to get the fuck out of here. And I went to integration class the next day, and I was like, wow, okay, that makes sense. Wow, all right, and so things started lining up. The second day, I had this strange visual. And for those of you out there that haven't tried psychedelics or ayahuasca, I'm not recommending that you do. I have to say that. But if you feel called to it, if you really feel called to it, then try it. I'm not saying that it's your solution. I'm not saying that it's going to solve your problems by any means, which, by the way, it just gives you the answers often for me. But in my case, in this scenario, I was on day 2. And I remember I'm laying there dealing with all this pain. I had this stuff come up and all this. And all of a sudden, I'm laying on my mat, my pillow. All of a sudden, I feel like this breeze come by, and I felt like it was a lion that kind of walked by, turned around, looked at me, and said, "You're not ready." And I thought, here I am going through all this stuff, like I'm less than, not enough. All this stuff. I'm like, fuck you. And I've always had things for lion, Daniel in the Lion's Den, just like always had a thing for lions. And I'm like, does that mean I'm not a leader? Does that mean I'm not who I am supposed to be? Does that mean does that mean I'm not worthy of all of these things? And so I just sat with all of that. And I just remember just feeling like a piece of shit. I just really embraced all of these things I didn't like about myself. And it was a very tough moment. And later the lion came back around, and it was a little like a colorful, like fluorescent kind of lion. There's some strange visuals that happen, but they're very effective. And I highly recommend, if you're going to try this, just do it in a place where you can have heavy integration. That's the most important thing. Might have to add some disclosures to this one, by the way. But anyway, I'm in this moment. This lion comes back around, looks at me, and says, "You're not ready." And I'm like, this time I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like having this conversation. I'm like, you're not real, all this. And just start fucking getting anxious and almost like wanting to attack the lion, rejecting. And then it gets a little closer, and it says, "You're not ready until you love me." And my eyes were in the lion, meaning I'm not ready until I love myself. And I just started bawling, and it was so true. I did not truly love myself. And that's when things really started loosening up, okay? Why? How? Let's fucking let all this shit out. Why do I not love myself? And I feel like in that moment, once I got past,
Because I think the questions is we were so busy to prove to the world that we forget about ourselves.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like I really forgot about myself. I was serving out others, but I forgot you cannot serve others, you cannot help others if your bucket is empty.
yeah,
And that's what it is. Like the self-love is everything. And it's a big difference. Like I have a lot of comments on Instagram that when I talk about self-love, people, that's a narcissistic behavior. That's two different things.
very much.
It's a very much so. I think I will let you touch on that too as well.
Yeah.
But in order, it's the more you love yourself, the more you are ready to serve because the stronger you are. And then that's why I don't drink alcohol anymore because it's like, why would I put this into my body? It's a poison because I did not respect myself. So I didn't mind putting all this stuff into my body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not take care of it, like not working out. Because if you don't love yourself, you can treat yourself like shit.
Yeah.
You know? But then it gets to you. At some point, it gets to you that it cannot, when it happened to me, it just completely breaks you down because it attacks you from every single angle.
Yeah.
Let's talk about self-love.
I think
And the difference.
since I've done ayahuasca or practice medicine in general, and I've gotten on my spiritual path, I've cut way, way back. And I've gone through periods where I just stop as well. So I get that. It's a toxin. Too much of anything can be bad as well. But yeah, self-love. But anyway, that moment was when things shifted, like during that time, when I was able to get clear about where and how to serve. I feel like prior to some of those moments or prior to me serving before was to fill this void. Now it's coming from a place of I am honored and it's my duty to be able to serve, give, help, guide, all of these things. And it's coming from a place of intuitive love. And because I've found love for myself, because I've been able to clean up a lot of that stuff. You know? Self-love. There's a lot of things, man, that fucking beat us up. Why we're not good enough, and
That's the title of my book, Not Enoughness. And then I discuss a lot of these
Excited to hear
issues.
it, man.
How you going through the drifting and going through the tunnel, and how you dealing, resetting yourself, resetting your program, your software every day, so you don't go back to the same pattern, old patterns, and get out of the tunnel.
How do I do it?
Yeah, how do you do it?
I practice meditation. I've done all sorts of really deep meditations. I have a ritual, kind of my own process. I do breath work a lot. I actually facilitate holotropic breath work as well, and I practice it on my own. I guess one of my best tools to reset and really get in alignment is this 5-minute breath work. And anybody can do it. It's basically a meditation practice, but you take 10 breaths and then you hold it for 10 seconds, and then you let it out, and then you do 20 breaths in now, in a big breaths, and then hold it for 20 seconds, and all the way up to 5, so you're holding it for 50. And that's like my fastest, best, most effective reset. That's a tool that I use often, like before a meeting, before an event, or if I'm just stuck, if I have those thoughts that are just like turning. Lately, my dad had passed away yesterday, a year ago, and I had all these thoughts. I had all this sort of victim stuff come up, and I got in my car and I was actually at the gym. I was like, right before I was getting ready to go, I'm just gonna fucking go to the gym and blow this shit out. I'm like, I need to do a little meditation. So here I am in the fucking gym parking lot, yelling my ass off, like letting this shit out. Just
Exactly.
like,
But that's what got it. That's like for the audience, for everybody. It's you have to. It doesn't matter because people only see the best of us, and they think, but we behind the closed door, all of us are struggling, and there's a voice, and some of us like have to speak up and has to call somebody and walk through somebody who went through this stuff. And it doesn't matter whoever you think in your bubble is the most successful, inspiring person. This person goes through shit as well. We go through this shit all the time.
Yeah.
And if you look at from outside the box, it's like, Daniel, you got fucking all this shit figured out. There's nothing you can complain about. And I know that we're not hiding anymore. I was hiding for years. But there's misunderstanding that we got shit figured out. And we're not.
We got to be careful with that too. It's just, I found myself in this place where, shit, I've done all this work. I've gone to all these ceremonies. I've done all this therapy. I've done all this stuff for people. Like I've served, I've helped, like I've grown. I'm like, why am I fucking still dealing with this shit?
And you know what the answer is? It will never, ever end.
Exactly. Why does it keep getting fucking more painful or more intense? And not to say it's more intense, I have more problems, but it's more of a, when we want to manifest something great, or when we get in a place of service, or when we start creating a lot of momentum, there's going to be different pressures. And I don't care like who it is, like for the rest of your life, you got to have a system, no matter what system it is, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, like whatever it is. And I truly think beyond just having my own internal stuff, it's like having good friends. Even just, I have this thing, I think I sent you this the other day. It's like this idea of 8 minutes. It only takes 8 minutes to let some of this shit go out. And so like with some of my friends, hey, you got 8 minutes. Like that means, hey, I just need 8 minutes to fucking talk, to integrate, get this shit out, whatever it is.
That's what the white elephant in the kitchen is?
That kind of stuff. So I think nobody's going to necessarily solve the problem for you, but sometimes it's just being able to express and integrate it, allow yourself with another person to be able to express it out, even if they don't say anything, right? So, I mean, like those two practices, between those two things, to answer your question, that's what I do. And beyond that, I do a lot of good medicine, psychedelics, deep meditations. I go in nature. I really connect as much as I can and find answers and find solutions and just try to get grounded. That's doing things in nature. Take your shoes off, get grounded, put your feet in the sand or in the water or in the earth, and do a little meditation. And like within 5-10 minutes, you're, yeah.
It's funny, like you're saying, like you do all the work, and while there's more pain, more pain, more pain, it was like literally a week ago, I was in the gym with my trainer, and he goes, Jarek, how is your soreness now, and then your muscles and everything else? When you do the last rep, it's like, Chris, Jesus, this hurts like a bitch. That never hurt like that. He goes, yeah, you have now more muscles. So there's more stuff to hurt. Your body's more aware of it, and there's more pain, more nerves to go to it. That's what happened with us. The more we are aware, the more we grow, the more that pain is more painful. Mm-hmm. But what happened is we now know how to control it. We know, hey, I'm in the best space. Let's be reset. Let's redo all this work. And like you said, that and I'm gonna use this line. We all need to system. We all need system in place, and you know how to reset the drift, the stuff like that, and just constantly be aware of it. Hey, I'm going to the space. Let's work it.
Yeah. And do it proactively too, not just when you think you need it. That's really the biggest tool for me. Like whatever that system is, like for anybody. Some people do yoga. Some people do like just be proactive about it. That's really all it is. And there's a big misconception that you look at people and you look at all these social media, they have it all going on, like their life is great. And
I can tell you it's not true. It's not true. I can tell you that. And we all know, but yet we see the best. And I always ask the question, and anybody I talk to, what advice would you give yourself knowing what you know right now? Sometimes I don't get the right answers, but what advice would you give yourself, younger self? 18 years old, 7, knowing what you know right now. I'm gonna ask for 3, but then I'm gonna go for 5.
Okay.
But and they don't have to be in order. Take your time, think about it, and I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Sure.
That what advice would you give yourself, younger self?
So 3 things about that, or you're saying you're gonna ask
3? No, I'm gonna. So go ahead.
What advice?
Well, I'm gonna get 5. 5 advice.
Okay.
Go.
I think the biggest thing is find a way to create proactively adversity so that you're always ready for the pain. Is essentially creating resilience is probably one of the most important things to focus on. And not avoiding pain, but to create resilience for pain. I'd say other thing is stop worrying about what other people think all the time. They got their own shit. This is, for me personally, I've really struggled with that. I've really struggled with, I remember my first time on stage, I was at this big real estate convention, and it was it felt like death. Like, felt like somebody was like killing me literally from the inside out. And the truth is, nobody really nobody felt the way I did. Nobody like really gives a shit about you making a mistake. Like, authenticity matters more than perfection. And this goes back to that me wanting to be perfect. How am I doing? Am I doing good? All this. Focus on authenticity and realness versus trying to be good or impressive or all these things. So that's a powerful one. I'd remind myself. And I have to remind myself of that every day. Okay. Next question.
There was two.
Yeah.
Well, I got three more.
All right. Out of anything that you practice, anything that I would practice, I would tell myself, find a way to create discipline. You can't have happiness, you can't have wealth, you can't have anything. You can't have even a spiritual connection to God. You can't have the best of your highest version without discipline. You can't help others without discipline. You can't have shit without discipline. And it really is like, it's the practice of finding ways to create that discipline and consistency it's just one of your, I'd say it's the number one protocol. Number 4, let's see. I think if you want to, this is a simple one, but it's such a powerful one. Watch how fast your problems go away if you help somebody else with theirs. And
That's a good one.
really serve to give, not to be liked, not to be loved, not to just give no matter what it is. And sharpening that skill for me has allowed me to become more intuitive to what's happening out there. The messages just come to me automatically. Hey, go this way, do that. Hey, how about this? This person pops in my head. You call them. Just by being in that, when I'm in a serving state or a flow state, when I'm constantly looking for ways to just say, all right, what can I give? Who can I impact today? How can I serve today? And that's a simple thing. I actually asked that question. How can I be of service to the universe today? That's after my 5-minute breath work that I always ask that question. And sometimes it's a person that pops up. Sometimes it's hey, take care of this for your health. And sometimes it's something related to my kids. And so it's such a powerful question, but what happens is it leads to these other things, answers to other stuff that you really wanted to find out, but it's like a weird pathway through. We got 2 more?
No, I got one more.
Okay. Choose your friends and your partners very wisely. I think especially when it comes to the people around you. Energy is contagious. How we think, how we speak, how we act, who we naturally become is really a direct reflection of who you surround yourself with. And it's a lot of people, you might think, oh, it's a little bit of a cliche and all that. No, it is the absolute. When you look at energies that come together, that like from a cell perspective, and all of a sudden they start molding to similarities, right? So when you look at this from a biological perspective, it matters. It matters more than you might think. And it's difficult to find yourself in these stages of life where you have to remove people or you have to level up your environment, but it's absolutely necessary. And if there's some fear of you wanting to move out of an area or move out of a place or create that friction, like just know that friction is the way. The obstacle is the way. So that's a key. The obstacle is the way. It's fucking powerful. Stop avoiding the obstacle. Fucking punch through it.
Exactly. Go through it. Go through the wall. If not through
That's
the door,
it.
not through the window, not through the chimney, go through the wall.
That's right.
There you go. Emotional fitness. I'll let you take that. I wasn't aware of the words like 5 years ago. I didn't know. I didn't even know this phrase exists. And that's the only thing I'm
What's
talking
the question?
about. Emotional fitness, emotional intelligence. What does it mean to you?
Emotional fitness, emotional intelligence, the same thing. It's really the ability to manage our emotions and our environments, our emotions in different environments, and also to have acute awareness, which is a skill that we are constantly sharpening.
Yeah.
Acute awareness of our emotions and others.
I was never aware of it. I was putting everything on the carpet. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. And I was putting everything on the carpet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everything was hidden in me until it just blows up. So
Yeah, it's a process. It's an ongoing process. When I really started to dig deep into sharpening that skill, which it really is a skill, digging into that for myself, I started noticing things in my kids, especially. I'm like, wow, okay, here's my kid like throwing a fit or like being upset or saying these things. And I'm like, hey, don't talk to me about being disciplined right away. No, they feel vulnerable enough to express whatever is going on with them. They want me to understand how they feel. They're trying to make me feel the way that they feel so that they feel understood.
you got this from me. I told you the aha moment. Remember, it was you. I shared it with you a month ago that I realized that my kids make me, the way they act, they want to make sure that I feel what they feel.
Yeah, we had this conversation.
I think I should. Like, I
Yeah.
can't believe it. Like, they want to make, and they go to this level. If I don't feel what they feel, the pain is, why you don't know this painful stuff? They want to make sure that we not acknowledge that we feel what they feel. And they go to extreme because they don't have the filter yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they want us to feel it so we know how to deal with it. Because we are, at the end of the day, we are the role models for our kids. Mm-hmm. And they're asking for help. And sometimes they're asking in the way that it's being adult, we're losing a lot of times. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to. Stop it. Something.
It's interesting. I read something like that in a behavioral book for kids a long time ago. And it didn't really click because my emotional fitness wasn't there. I didn't really. And let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If you have kids or nephews even or nieces, whatever, kids are our greatest teachers. If you really put intention towards wanting to understand why they're reacting, it teaches us like, oh, wow. Okay, because at the end of the day, we're all a bunch of little wounded boys and girls walking around with these same things, reacting the same way. It's like
It's exactly it. I think that our kids are there to teach us like what we don't know and what we have to work on.
yeah,
All the imperfections, all the stuff that we still not recover, that we don't know, we're not aware of it. The kids are pointed out, and this is the stuff we have to work on. The stuff that we're getting frustrated with the kids or even with the other people, it's a mirror. That's what we have to work on. Why is this pissing me off? Why is this like triggering me? Why is this? And go deep and figure out the answers and then work on it so it doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Or it's a wound, it's a trauma, it's something that it happened in the past. That's why you have a reaction to it. Like I even call it like freaking allergic reaction. It's what the hell? Can't you see it? Yeah, and the more I get upset, because I cannot see it in myself. You know what I mean? Sure. So, yeah, the more we see some stuff in the other people that is driving us nuts, is the stuff that we see in ourselves that was never touched or never was put away or never resolved. You know what I mean?
absolutely.
And the kids, and it's funny, the people that we love the most, which are kids or partners, they can trigger the most out of us. Because that's where we feel vulnerable. Because you cannot react like that to the stranger because it was a fuck you or beat you up on the street. But yet we hurt the loved ones the most because they know they're there. I can just imagine just lose control a lot. Like I lose my temper a lot of time in front of my kids and then I have to apologize. I don't want you to, I'm still working on all this stuff that I have to work on. I don't want you to think that's okay to lose it or to act like that, you know what I mean? Because it's not who I am.
Yeah, I like to, in moments like that with my kids, I like to say, hey, look, I believe you how you feel right now. Just, it stops them in their tracks. Oh, okay. Like you're saying, I'm present, I'm understanding you, I'm with you, I'm here meeting you at your pain, whatever it is. And then I say, and this kind of goes back to us as well. It's yes, we all have these wounds, they all have these traumas which show up in patterns and triggers and things like that. And we can be understanding towards people and our kids. And there's still some consequences that go with it. But one thing that my daughter's very sensitive and she's like a little more empathic. She really catches on to things. And I just remember thinking one day, like she was just anxious and upset and all this stuff. And she was just like being a brat. And I found myself like, oh my gosh, all right, let me deal with it. What's going on? Like really looking at it. Okay, I'm trying to meet you where you're at. But what is your problem? Let me just fix your problem. Because I was like, okay, I don't have time.
We are just natural. We men. We want to fix. We want to fix everything.
Here's the crazy part is like, I found myself, and this happens with babies, kids, adults who really start to see it more in kids. It's like, wait a minute, my energy was all fucked up. And I wasn't putting it out towards her. I wasn't being mean towards her. But at the end of the day, my energy was all fucked up. So she was just feeling that. And she was reflecting it. Often things that are happening in these moments are a mirror, right, of ourselves. And we have to constantly think about that and say, okay, how did we get here? Where's my energy at? Or why did I choose this in some subliminal way? Like, how did we get here? And then say, all right, I see, of course, she's reacting this way. My energy's all fucked up and it's dirty and it's fucking full of static. It's all frantic. Of course she's responding that. But she doesn't. So the problem that she was complaining about, it wasn't really that problem.
It
was just she didn't even know what was going on within her. It's just like that whole point of being around good people or being around people that have good emotional fitness, or at the very least can express it to you. Like my friends, right? I would much rather, in friends and family, this is the way it is. Like next time your family or friend yells at you or is mean towards you, just remember that it is also a sign of respect and comfort that they can express that to you because they feel safe to be able to do that. But what are they doing? They're trying to say or express to you how they feel. They're not putting that towards you or not getting upset with you like it's your problem, whatever's going on with them. Yes, there's always the surface level stuff, but when you look a little deeper and then being able to have the conversation. It's like the other day when you were like pissed off. You're like, okay, I caught myself. I'm like, hey, listen, you want to fucking take it out. Like, let's go through it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm here for it. Just fucking let it all out, but not take it personal. Hey, what's going on?
But a lot of times we don't have those people. A lot of times you have to understand. A lot of people don't have those people. They can connect and they can do this stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Believe me, like doing the work that I do right now, there's a lot of people that are alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was alone for years. Like I'm telling you, when all my shit hits the fan, like all those people, I was in home alone for like months, for years.
Well, you were alone in here. So.
Yeah. But what happened is people don't have those people. But a lot of times we just hide. We don't want to, because that's, if I tell like what is going on in my head, it just makes that I'm weak. Like you said on the beginning of the podcast, it's you cannot cry because you're weak. And it's the culture, it's expectations. You're a man. You're not allowed to do this. Says who? We have to express ourselves. We have to go there. We gotta be in the pain and just let it out and share it and have somebody to vent to or have somebody to. And hey, and having somebody that you can tell that's what I'm struggling, that's what I'm this, and having companion and that help you out or walk you through, that's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So the question is, how does somebody find those people if they don't have them?
There's like a lot of, that's actually good questions, but there's a lot of, I'm not therapist, there's a lot of therapists, and you can find a therapist, right? There's a lot of 1-800 numbers, suicidal numbers. Social media, it's a gift and a curse. You know what I mean? You can find a good information, you can find bad information. Join all those groups and just get out there. You don't have to, because you don't have somebody in the bubble, doesn't mean there's somebody not out there. Yeah. That's what the social media is. People in the bubble, like I always tell, like my people in the bubble, they already know me. They have access to me. If they choose not to, it's up to them. But there's 8 billion people in the world. You know what I mean? They can have access to you because of the social media. And there's a lot of groups, a lot of stuff that, you know, but you have to reach out. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that it's sometimes like a lot of, yesterday I had a meeting in my office. And I said, sometimes when I just say something out, like I'm looking for an answer, and now suddenly I speak to somebody, or I say something, it's like, oh shit, like I got it. It's something just, I think it's the vibration and everything else, just putting stuff out, it just makes you, it just releases.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Expressing it.
Yeah. And having even somebody, I have my best friend just going Bogdan, going through the grief, his wife. And I just sit there. I was sitting there, like what you would serve like for me with my divorce. When he lost his wife, I couldn't help him. Well, what do you want me to tell him? I didn't know what to say. I was just sitting there, just let him grieve, let him go through the process, let him cry, let him do. Like you said, what do you want to do? Have another beer? Let's have a beer. Have this, and it's sometimes just be present. And having the right person, because you cannot have somebody you want to open up and the person crucifies everything you say. But we already know that. But there's a lot of, I think there's...
Sometimes I just, if I don't have somebody to talk to about a specific moment, I'll talk in the mirror. I'll have a conversation with myself.
Yeah.
And finding those answers, I often find the answers I'm looking for just by doing that.
So I'm not the weirdo one that I talk to myself in the mirror?
Nope.
You guys talk to yourself in the mirror? I do.
I talk to myself all the time.
Come on, man. There's nothing wrong with that. So
we need conversations with thyself.
But speaking of that, and I'm not joking,
Just
like
you.
in the morning, I really do a breath work, like breathe in the mirror. And then I really tell myself the stuff, but only the good affirmations. I don't say good, bad affirmations, like good affirmation. And I look it straight into my eyes more than anybody else. Like when I was going through my process, through my period, I did not shave for 6 months looking in the mirror. Like I could not look myself in the eyes. I was shaving without looking in the mirror. I was so embarrassed to look at it in my eyes. I was embarrassed of myself, who I become. That's
sometimes the conversation in the mirror is not a pleasant conversation.
No.
And I think that's a powerful thing. Like if you're in that state, sometimes those conversations might not be positive. It's, hey, motherfucker, what are you doing? Like I've had some tough love conversations in the mirror as well. When I felt sorry for myself, when I didn't feel like I was enough, or when I was out of shape. It's not healthy to like constantly beat yourself down, but it's also not healthy to say, I am wealthy, or I am fit, and just repeat these things, say these things in your head. It's not real. Like you got to add the emotion to it, but you also got to have conversations of realness. Hey, you fucked up, Daniel, and now you're here. What are you going to do? You're going to pay the price. How are we going to do? Really having that tough conversation. Like I do a reality check once in a while with that.
I tell you, I do it every morning.
Yeah.
I do it. I do it every morning. It was so weird for me to become selfish motherfucker. It was so weird. Like I have to really cut everything off. Nothing for anybody. Like this time, my bucket was so freaking empty, because what happened is when you count on the love for somebody else and for somebody, and then you suddenly the divorce happened and you lose your kids 50% of the time, you don't have the connection. The pain is so big. It's humongous. And this time what happened is I have to become selfish and start filling out the bucket. And a lot of self-talk, a lot of manifesting. And when I start working on myself, I couldn't believe it how much I neglect myself for 46 years. Then what happened is there's stages in healing and everything else. There's come the resentment. Like I talk to myself because remember, if I ever talk to anybody in my life the way I talk to myself, I would not be surrounded with anybody. I literally talk to myself like shit. You loser. And I was successful in anybody else's eyes. But the way I talk to myself in the mirror, fucking love yourself, go fuck yourself. Like I never said those words to myself. What are you loser? You could do this, you could do this, you could do, like I talk and your mind doesn't know the difference. And I have to switch my dialogue with myself. But it doesn't happen. You don't talk to yourself like shit, and suddenly you talk to yourself with all the love and all the affection and all this stuff. That's a time and it's a period that you're learning. I didn't even know how to talk to myself. Yeah, go talk to yourself. Fucking like in my head. It still does. That's what I told you. I have to rip the whole freaking computer and learn. Emotional fitness, it was like, to me, it was new. So I can talk to this camera. You know what I mean? That was the biggest thing. It's just learning and a lot of reading, a lot of like self-development. Like how? Like I didn't know. Like I told you, even my life coach told me like 3 months ago, he's like, you got to stop saying those words that you are still emotionally, if it comes to emotional intelligence, you're still a toddler. You were a toddler 2 years ago. It's been like 5 years. You're doing all the work. Just stop saying those words. You graduated. You're in the first grade. And it's still a learning process. The thing I just told you about talking to the mirror, that's a new thing too, like in the last few months. You know what I mean? Taking care of my body. I work out my entire life. I never looked like that. I cut sugars. I love myself now too much to fucking ruin this shit.
Oh, yeah.
This is the ship that I have to build. I have to build for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I neglect it completely. Not only emotionally, physically, mentally, like everything else. Yeah. And now I'm like, hey, in order to be present, in order to be the best of the best for my kids, for my friends, for my bubble, for my parents, for everybody, I have to, and I just had a conversation with the other Daniel. I get up in the morning, what I have to do today to become better. And when I become better, then everything else becomes better. But we forget, no, I have to do this. We have to serve. But in order to serve, you got something to give. You cannot, if you don't have money, you cannot give the money because there's nothing to give. Mm-hmm. You cannot give the love if you don't love yourself. You know what I mean? It's everything it's fake.
Yeah.
So to me, I have to break the mindset that I'm being selfish. I'm being selfish to build this in order so I can serve to others a lot better way. You know what I mean? I noticed, it's funny. Let's say I was partying, I was drinking. Suddenly, everybody else was drinking. This is why I was never aware of how many people I inspire, how many people look up to me. I was like, fucking this motherfucking party, all this stuff, then I can do it too. You know what I mean? I was giving people permission to party, to drink, to do drugs, to do, you know what I mean? Yeah. And suddenly, same people, you were getting shit-faced, you're not drinking. Why you don't drink? You know what I mean? I take care of myself. And suddenly it's like somebody have a beer instead of 7 or 10. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then
it's contagious.
Yeah.
Loving yourself, having that energy.
That's the energy.
Around,
people feel it.
Yeah.
People feel it. You can lie. You can say it to yourself and you can feel it. Like, how do you love yourself, motherfucker, if you overweight or you sleep, you watch TV all day? How do you love yourself? What do you do to yourself that you love yourself? Yeah. Would you do this to your wife? Would you do this to your kids? No, so why you do it to yourself? What is the reason that it's okay to do it to yourself, not to anybody else? Would you give this to I know that your father died a year ago, day today, but would you do it to your father? Would you do it to your mother? So why to ourselves?
I think it's such a very important question. Like, would you do this to your 12-year-old self? Like, even forget about yourself for a minute, but just say, okay, look, I want you to walk up and do this to this little boy, this whatever, 8-year-old boy. How would you know? And start talking shit to this boy. Would you do that? No.
No.
So why are you doing it to yourself? Because you're still that 8-year-old little boy inside. That's still, and how we treat ourselves, that magic, that love, it comes from the inside out towards the people that we do want them to feel the love,
so it's
to
funny.
receive love.
It's funny. You know what? That's actually, you brought a very valid point. I neglect this little Jarek, 8 years old Jarek, for so fucking long that now everything I do is just paying back. It's just, let me take you on the journey. Let me help you. I'm sorry for doing all this stuff. God, thank you for showing me the way. And I'm doing this for him for all the damages I've done to him. Because on the end of the day, when I was on the freaking suicidal, that was the little Jarek crying. I showed the whole world, but yet I'm broken. The little Jarek was broken. And he was like on an island living like, Jarek, motherfucker, why you left me here? Why you become society and everybody become more important than me? Because we said, well, I have to do this in order to do this. And we forgot about the little things that make us happy.
So true. Remember the inner child experience that we did one time together?
Yeah.
And really leaning into that inner child moment, talking to our little self, asking questions. Hey, why do you feel scared? What makes you feel loved? When did do you feel like your parents or someone else hurt you? And when and why and what? And so really going back to those moments.
Yes.
To heal that inner child and discover, okay, this is where the pattern was created. And like you said, like you're trying to go back and try to make up for lost time. I think it happens right away. Like when you heal yourself now in this moment, you're healing that 8-year-old little boy.
Yes.
But we still got to go back and do the
yes,
work and
constantly.
And,
it never stops.
Yeah.
That's what happened is you said that the pain comes because you're more aware of it. So it hurt more. How much more work? A lot more work. We don't even know where we're going. What is hard right now, the next week, this month, what is hard, it's going to be easy a year from now. Mm-hmm. But we don't know what's going to be then. That's the evolution. We got the progress. That's all the stuff that you constantly work on yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I do talk to the little Jarek a lot because I neglect him for so long. You know what I mean? I want to be happy. Can you imagine being 51 years old and I literally my life just started. I can't believe it that I wasted so much. And you know what? I wasted. I did not lose it. I did not waste the time. This was time to work on myself. I need all those lessons. So then I can enjoy the next 50 years, 70 years of my life. Which, by the way, I'm going to live to 120, 150. That's it. That's my goal. If accident happen, man, you better celebrate my party. You know what I mean? But it just constantly just going through it and just, we got it. The inner child is a very important thing because that's where we lose it. So that's when the self-talk and depends which self-talk you talk, because the little child, little Daniel doesn't know that you're talking, you know what I mean, which voice you're talking to. And the little child if the devil speaks, the little child will listen. If the God speaks, we listen to everything else that, we don't know the difference. So why don't we speak gently to ourselves with love, with light, with giving, Because I talk like shit to me my entire life. Yeah. And it's stuck. It was in my DNA.
And we are always going to be our worst critic. And
Yeah.
that's never going to stop. It's just a matter of having awareness when it comes up and then shifting. So for me, I'm speaking for myself, being able to shift quickly what I'm saying to myself, to that inner child. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, that's not my real story, or that's not the story that I want to create. Okay, what story do I want to create that's useful about this thing? And specifically, it's interesting. I tell you, I've gone back and healed the boy in a meditation, which I invite anybody to do. If you had a moment where you felt like things really shifted in a negative way, or if you just wanted to go back to a place, imagine that little boy, do this meditation. Go back, have a conversation, see the little boy sitting there meditating, whisper in the ear, go hug the little boy or girl, say, how can I help you? Where are you hurt? How do you want to receive love? And just any other natural questions that come up that you feel you want to ask or that you want to heal. And man, it's amazing what can happen.
It's huge, but that's awareness. I never we live the most time with ourselves. Why do we do it? Why don't we take care of ourselves? Would I if the way I talk to my kids, the way I love my kids, the way this, why don't I do that to myself? And yet we live with ourselves the rest of our life.
What does the inner child of Jarek want to do with his life? What does the inner child want to do?
Teach people to love the freaking selves and don't be a douchebag to themselves. You know what I mean? Spread the love, light, and just be happy. Forget about all these expectations, because we go through the programming, through the schools, through everything. And it's funny, the teachers, the coaches, everybody engraves something in your software and that sticks with you. And that's how you develop. And then you develop in the human being you are not. And we go back to the inner child, the little boy that is unaffected by all this stuff. That's where the happiness comes. I have more shit. I have more problems right now than I ever have in my fucking life. And I'm fucking happy. I have a problem after problem. But the problems doesn't make you, you don't have problems. No. Because the problems only last little, but you can think about the problem all the time, or you can think about the good stuff and be in your head and be in a present moment. And
Yeah.
Daniel, thank you for coming. I hope we learn a lot. I don't know about you, but I learn a lot more. It's funny when you bring this stuff, we start talking, you and I, when we start talking, it's it brings a more awareness and breakthroughs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's funny, I have quite a few breakthroughs when you were saying something, or you were asking questions, or it's oh, this come up and this come up.
Yeah.
So as always.
Yeah. It's a pleasure.
Hopefully we
Gotta do
could
it more
share it.
often.
We got some insights. We could do it more often.
Yeah.
And those conversations never end. And growth never stop.
Love life.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Leave your comments and subscribe for more insights on mastering your inner game.